John LUND Unleashed. A voice as smooth as a Curry 3, a wit as sharp as a Timmy curveball, and the looks of, well, let's just say God doesn't give you everything. John LUND Unleashed. Weekdays starting around 8 a.m. Pacific on YouTube and where you get your favorite podcasts. Please like, subscribe, and tell your friends and enemies. Now, fashionably late, with a bad excuse, here's Johnny.
That is true. Fashionably late, bad excuse. I'm just doing work for you, man. Just doing work for you. Just making the show better. Last minute stuff. Happy Monday. I got a little bit new look. We're trying some different lighting and some different things. I got one of my old cameras up that's better, but actually shows more of my flaws, so we'll see what happens. If you are new to the show, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday. We got a chalkboard up there, episode 15. We tell you what's going on. We got to acknowledge Ricky Henderson first and foremost. 49ers down and out. Brock's first 20 versus second 20. Tankathon, that's all you care about now that the 49ers are officially out. Dubs trade talk. Plus a weird weekend for the Dubs because they beat Minnesota, but strange stuff with Steve Kerr sending messages and Brandon Podjemski's strange answer, but I don't think it's strange. First baseman flying off the market this weekend, Christian Walker, Paul Goldschmidt, which is somebody that I know a lot of Giants fans wanted Goldy. That's why it says New York Goldy down there. And some caboose pistol for you as well. In fact, I don't know if I loaded the caboose pistol, so I'm going to make sure that I did that. Good morning. By the way, CD was first. Says, good morning, John. Niners suck. Let's get after it. CD, Tacky is here. Hurleybird is there. Jeff, did I put 8 p.m. on the thing? I probably did. Not waiting that long. Hey Rockin', good to see you. JJ Raider, hello everyone. Are you a Raider fan, JJ Raider? My son is a Raiders fan, and he is pissed that they won yesterday and probably lost out on one of the top two quarterbacks, either Shador or Cam Ward. What else do we got? Give me the over. Was I over or under today? 805. Probably right about there. Welcome, John. Thank you for making sure that you stopped by today. Oh, no. We suck again! Yes. Who was that? It was Saturday Night Live, but I can't remember. I know who it is. It's on the top. Rob Schneider. Yeah, Rob Schneider. Sorry, I was late. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get to everything, remember, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and all those kind of things. I also have a podcast that goes along with this. It's on Apple, Spotify, and all your favorite places to get your podcast. So anyway, I'm trying to find my position here. But anyway, I had an old camera. I thought this was a better camera, but then it's much more in HD, so it's like, whoa, that's afraid. So anyway, you can tell me if you like it, if you hate it, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that we're doing this all right for you. But Rob Schneider. Anyway, Nathan, I didn't see you there. Raiders can't do anything right, even lose. You are 100% correct. Use the chat room to chat over the next little while that we'll be here on this Monday. We'll be here for quite a while, because we got a ton to go over. And make sure also at John Lund Radio. I'm looking at Twitter/X right now. So if you got any thoughts, questions, comments, and remember, if you are new to the show, having a differing opinion is fine here. Most of America, it is not. But here, it is absolutely great. I love to hear differing opinions. So it is absolutely great to have you. All right, let's start out. First and foremost, we've got to acknowledge Ricky Henderson. Over the weekend, I didn't jump on in regards to Ricky just because I kind of was reading and sitting back and everything like that. I got a couple of Ricky Henderson stories. I'm going to play a clip from Ricky's Hall of Fame speech, which was 100% Ricky. Absolutely amazing. My story before I play you the Hall of Fame is we probably had Ricky on shows, me and Pop, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. And I remember one in particular. It was hilarious, and I wish I had the audio from it. But once they let you go, it's like anything that with that person is out of the system. But we literally sat there for an entire show. I'm trying to think of exactly what time Ricky Henderson was supposed to be on our show, but for the sake of conversation, we started doing that show over on 95.7, and we were noon to 3, and then we went from 10 to 2. So I think it was a 10 to 2 4-hour show. And I think it was really early. I think Ricky was supposed to join us at like 10:30. And Greg kept saying he's not going to be on time, not going to be on time. So we kept pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back. And I'm not kidding you. It was like 1:30, and I kept teasing, well, Ricky's going to be here, Ricky's going to be here. And finally Pop's like, I'll bet you he's not going to. And, of course, at like 1:40, we're supposed to have Ricky at 10:30. All of a sudden, just Ricky calls out of the blue at like 1. You know, it's not like Ricky's on East Coast time. You sometimes have that problem. Like, oh, you meant East Coast time. That's 1:30 versus 10:30 on the – oh, I see. And you have that screw-up. Ricky was here. He just kind of, okay, 10:30 is a kind of a round – it's kind of a – I'll be a few minutes late. Not like me, fashionably late 5 minutes, once the show starts. I mean, Ricky Henderson's like 3 hours late. So he calls us, and of course we're going to take Ricky Henderson. And I remember taking it up to like 5 to 2, and our show's over at 2. But once Ricky gets going, Ricky gets going. And even if you asked him a question about, just anything, it could be anything. Hey, how about the stolen base record? It was just whatever tangent he wanted to go off on, Ricky would go off on. And it was amazing. Third-person references at least 5 or 6 times. I mean, seriously, I was turning my mic off laughing. That was just Ricky being Ricky. He was awesome. Said hello to him many times at the ballpark, shook his hand. Just an amazing guy. One of the best of all time as far as, you all know this part. I'm not telling anything you don't know. Power, speed, flair. I mean, it's, when people are talking about the American Idol, he was everything. And he loved to played independent league ball till he was like 46. He loved the game. Loved the game of baseball. So anyway, just a unique guy. And the other part that's just amazing is, to me at least, and give me your thoughts too on the chat line or at John Lund Radio, he was one of those guys where when I saw the news, it just didn't click. I was driving in my car on, I guess it was Saturday, and I was flipping around, and I think I was listening to Sirius because sometimes Kevin Franzen on there, so I was seeing if Franny was on, and they're doing a bit on remembering Ricky Henderson. They were playing cuts and highlights, and it didn't really register to me because I just thought it was an ode to Ricky Henderson. Why not? He was that great. And then it kind of clicked into me as like, Ricky's gone. Like they're talking like Ricky's gone. And then of course I go to my phone and it was like, what in the hell? I mean, he's 65 years old. So obviously he kept things to himself and we didn't know anything. But I mean, when you saw Ricky, and I'm sure you did, many times, TV, whatever the case may be, he was around the A's all the time. He went to the field all the time. He was there on the last day. Hell, he threw out the last pitch of the A's existence in Oakland up in Seattle. He looked great. I mean, it just comes so out of the blue. It was like, Ricky looks great. Ricky looks like Ricky. Ricky's one of those guys that you just doesn't click in your mind that they're ever going to pass away. That's kind of the way I looked at him. I'm just like, this guy's going to be around forever. He's just going to be one of those guys that's just, Willie Mays-like. He's just going to be around forever. And to lose Ricky Henderson at 65, that's a jolt. So that's just me. Give me your thoughts as well. But I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge Ricky Henderson at a really high level. And I want to have fun today and laugh and like we always do and all these things. But, man, it's just that one hits you because he's just one of the all-time greats. I mean, you just think of Ricky Henderson. I know there's Willie Mays and a lot of other guys, but I mean, to combine, the true leadoff guy. I mean, if you draw up a leadoff guy in the history of baseball, it's Ricky Henderson. There's no second place. Really, it's not even close. It's Ricky Henderson. It's everybody else. He's the ultimate leadoff hitter. Home runs, speed, stealing bases. Nobody's going to catch his stolen base record because analytics say that the stolen base is no good anymore. Just amazing. So anyway, that is my ode to Ricky Henderson. But to make things a little bit lighter, let's play this because this is typical Ricky. Talking about, this is his Hall of Fame speech, and this is Ricky talking about how he got involved in the game of baseball.
My first year in high school, my favorite sport was football. I did not like baseball. My counselor, Mrs. Wilkerson, bribed me into playing baseball. She would pay me a quarter every time I would get a hit, a run score, or stole a base. After my first 10 games, I had 30 hits, 25 run score, and 33 steals. Not bad money for a kid in high school.
That was just Ricky. I mean, that was perfect Ricky. On the text line, rest in peace, the legend. Tacky says, growing up a Giants fan in San Ramon, hated the A's, but always loved Ricky. Jamie M. I'd like to acknowledge you from the 209. Very nice. Yeah, we'll talk about Brock's salary. There's a weird stat on Brock, which we'll get into in a minute. Nathan's got the Ricky Homer. You're 100% right. Everybody, so that's what I mean is, in the Bay Area, and I know everybody hates the split hat and everything like that, but there's certain players where you just don't hate them. I mean, Ricky, it's amazing. I forgot he even played for the Dodgers. Or every team that he played for was acknowledging him in their uniform. So obviously Ricky's known mostly as an A, but of course the Yankees and Padres and even the Red Sox and the Mets and the Yankees, and I mean all these teams are putting stuff out of Ricky, and I forgot. And the Dodgers put this thing out. He had his final home run with the Dodgers, and he was wearing 25, and I was like, oh yeah, Ricky was a Dodger. Just amazing. But anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge Ricky Henderson because Ricky Henderson deserves acknowledgement. He deserves to lead off the show. And then I saw this yesterday as well, and 3 of these 4, this is just over the last little while, last 6 months. Of course, you got Willie up there, Orlando Cepeda, Ricky, and then Pete Rose has passed away as well. 3 of those 4, though, as obviously is clear, from the Bay Area. So it hasn't been a great 6 months for baseball as our legends are just passing away before our eyes. But like I said, I thought Ricky was going to be like Willie. I thought he was going to live forever, and it's crazy. So anyway, Ricky Henderson, rest in peace. One of the great players, one of the great guys, the great flair, just one of the first guys that you just like, you had to tune in to see Ricky. You couldn't miss the start of the game because you didn't know what Ricky was going to do. So just crazy that we lost Ricky Henderson at the age of 65. All right, let's get to the 49ers, and there's a lot to talk about here. I don't even know where to start. The kicker, the lack of being able to stop the run, Brock Purdy's late interception, Deebo's showing up but a little too late. I've talked all season long about the offensive line. I'm sure you're sick and tired of me talking about the offensive and defensive lines, we're acknowledging injuries. There's no doubt about it. We're going to acknowledge injuries, okay? But let's just put that aside for a second. It's just been kind of embarrassing, but here's my theory on the 49ers season. When they saw that they couldn't return to the place that they wanted to return, it's kind of like the fans. We have this high expectation level. We still have it with the Warriors because Steph Curry's around. We have it with the 49ers because anything less than a Super Bowl appearance and win will not suffice, especially for this team. And I've told you this many, many times, and it's 100% correct. There is a tension down at 49ers headquarters. There is even a stronger word, a desperation around 49ers headquarters to win a Super Bowl. And so ever since, not being officially eliminated like they were yesterday, but ever since you could just tell the season was going awry, and that's not even a strong enough word, that it's just been a crazy season from Brandon Ayuk's holdout to all the different things, Ricky Pearsall and Trent Williams and all the injuries and Mooney Man Ward's family situation, Trent Williams' family situation, and Devondre Campbell refusing to play, and just all these weird things. So you knew early on, because as a fan, you know this. You don't have to be a media member to know this, that when a season is going right, you just have a feeling, right? You just have this feeling that it's just like, it's our year, and things go your way, whether they be injuries or the way the ball bounces or just, comeback wins, or you just have this confidence about your team. When the season is going right, you just know. I know sitting up in the box, I'm just watching the 49ers game, and it didn't matter how far they fell behind in the NFC Championship game. I just felt they had a run in them, and they did. I didn't know that they were going to win it sitting there because it was just so ridiculous, but I knew they would come back in some way, shape, or form. Same way with the Green Bay game. I knew they were going to come back. It was just a matter of, could they win it? Would they have enough time? But you just had that feel about it, right? They were going to Vegas last year. You just knew it. And this year, ever since the Brandon Ayuk thing and the offseason, and you just knew it early on in the season, just all these weird things are going on, and you didn't want to be true to yourself. You wanted to say to yourself, they can overcome this. Okay, Ricky gets shot. They can overcome it. Trent holds out. Ayuk holds out. They can overcome it. Deebo's not having a great year. Some injuries start to happen. They can overcome it. They can overcome it. They can overcome it. Knowing the whole time in the back of your head that they're not overcoming it. They're just not. So there's that weirdness of a season. And so I'm not giving them a break. It's just, this is my explanation. Maybe you would call it an excuse. Explanations and excuses, which I talk about all the time. But you just knew it wasn't going to be their year. And so once they felt that, because there's such a thin line in professional sports, there's such a thin line that I think they lost their mental edge. We're not getting back to the Super Bowl. And they just had a letdown. Because yesterday was more of the same. It was penalties. It's this team just can't come back. I don't know if it's Kyle or Brock or whatever, but you just don't have a whole lot of confidence. The run defense, you have no confidence whatsoever. I remember this year sitting in the booth many times. I've told you this. whether we're sitting next to Larry Krueger or Copeland or whomever I was sitting next to on that given game. And I would turn to him and say, mostly Larry, and say, do you have any confidence in this defense? And every time we both said no. So you knew yesterday that they couldn't run the ball, and they didn't. You knew that Brock Purdy doesn't generally, and Kyle Shanahan teams don't come back, and they didn't. So it was no surprise, and you were probably thinking in the back of your mind, like, hey, you know what? Let's do Tankathon. And we'll do Tankathon a little bit later, but you can see right there, you don't even have to look at the score. Look at the pass versus the run. There's 18 runs in that game. There's 40 passes. The Niners never win those games. Miami ran the ball 30 times. They threw it 34. They ran for 166 at 5.5 yards a pop. You don't even have to look at the final score. You don't. You don't even have to look at the final score. If a Kyle Shanahan team runs the ball 18 times in a game, not happening. Now you look at George Kittle. George Kittle is one of the few guys, as he goes for 106 yesterday. He's having an amazing season. He's all-pro number 1 at tight end. You look at Deebo Samuel there, his best game, 7 for 96, had that touchdown that dragged everybody into the end zone. An amazing play by Deebo Samuel, but it's too much too late. I mean, I'm going to remember his season with the drop against the Rams. I don't think he's going to be here next year. I've said that many times, but Ricky Pearsall making mistakes and getting chewed out on the sideline. Just that was the game yesterday. I don't know that Jake Moody's going to be back. You know my thoughts on that. I don't have the drop, but during that draft, and they drafted him in the 3rd round. I don't care what anybody says, a sandwich pick, whatever the hell you want to call it. You don't draft kickers in the 3rd round. Brandon Aubrey came out of nowhere. I mean, you can go on down the line. That's a 3rd-round pick that the 49ers needed. And they took Jake Moody with that pick. I'm sorry, you just can't defend it. So that's kind of the season to me, once that it just came really apparent, and to the fans too, that they just weren't going to make it there. That's their expectation level, just like it is for a fan. They expected to be in the Super Bowl, and once it was very, very apparent that wasn't them. That wasn't the season. This wasn't going to be the season for them. You could just feel it spiraling out of control. And Philly was better, and Detroit was better, and Minnesota was better, and on down the line, even the Rams better in the division than the Seahawks, even though they lost again yesterday, and I don't think they're going anywhere near the playoffs. But you get my point, is that it just became very apparent that they just weren't going to win, and this isn't a great division. You know, the Rams had a bunch of injuries early. Should have taken advantage of the Rams early, had that loss against the Rams, had that loss against the Cardinals. I mean, all these different things we can go over, but it's just one thing after another, and then they just need a reset. We've discussed this many times. I don't think their window is closed. Everybody wants to close a window. They've still got a ton of talent coming back. We've talked about Brock being paid a bunch of times. All those kind of things we'll acknowledge, but I just think it was a weird season, and not only do we know, it's not like they're oblivious to it. They're in this bubble all the time, and it's like, I don't think the Niners know it's not their year. They knew. They knew that it wasn't their year. I think they let down because of it, and I just think they need a reset. And I think they need to get guys healthy. That's obvious. So what you care about, that right there. That's what you care about. Now you care about Tankathon, which is, look at the Raiders. Oh, Raiders. Could have been, 2-13 up there with the Giants. First or second pick on there. I think they lost the first pick, actually. They lost the first pick because winning percentage is less. So they would have the first pick. They would have their pick of those quarterbacks. Not anymore. They're sitting at 6. So that's not great. But look at the 49ers at 11. And let's be honest. Beyond 6 and 9, nice. They need a top 10 pick. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way. They need a top 10 pick. And you know what a top 10 pick is? Usually the best tackles go in that range, and their offensive line was terrible. And I know they had backups and all that kind of stuff, but all season long, this has been a constant. If we look at constants throughout the season, you're supposed to be you want to be, I should say. You want to be a smash-mouth football team. So I talk about the defensive line. It's not like it was in 2019. It's not like it was last year even. Armstead was out, but when he came back, he had a nice Super Bowl. He had a very good NFC Championship game, forced that fumble that was a key in that game. They just don't have it. But in the offensive line, to defend Brock Purdy for just a second before I give you a stat that really makes you think, we're going to pay this guy? The offensive line has been terrible all season long, and Brock has been running for his life. So when you see those things and you watch a quarterback, and I watched a number of games yesterday, and it's not always on the quarterback, those interceptions, but the one he threw yesterday was pretty unforgivable. Again, the thing that bothers me about Brock is he's not going to have all the physical traits, but from a standpoint of being smart with the football, he threw that interception 1st and 10. 𝐃𝐨𝐭 was in his face. He threw that interception 1st and 10, stepping up in the pocket. You don't have to make a hero play there, Brock. You're smarter than that. There's about 1:52 left on the clock when he throws the interception. He steps up in the pocket, gets desperate, throws a football on a crossing route. Now, maybe Jauan Jennings should have cut that shorter and made it a tighter cut. I saw the Seattle game. DK Metcalf ran a route that got intercepted by Minnesota, and he kind of rounded it off. The safety came up. You got to cut that a lot tighter. Maybe Jauan Jennings was supposed to cut that tighter. Maybe it's not 100% on Brock. I just know it was first down, and you don't have to take that chance on first down. But he did, and that was the end result of it. But if you're looking from a positive standpoint, there you go. There is 𝐾𝐿, and the 49ers are 11th and might be in a position to get a top 10 pick. Top 10 pick, what I would do? Now, it all depends on how the board goes, but you gotta think two of those quarterbacks are going to go 1 and 2. Rather, New England doesn't need one. Jacksonville doesn't need one. Now, Tennessee sitting there at 4 needs one. 5, Cleveland needs one. Vegas 6 needs one. One of those teams is going to move up to 2 and get that second quarterback and probably trade with New England because New England needs a lot. New England needs the second pick, but they also could move back to 5, 6, something like that, 4, 5, 6, where those 3 teams sit now, and they could easily go up to number 2, and New England needs a lot of things, not just one player. So I would imagine that that's what they're going to do. So there you go. That's the good news of it. As far as the Purdy numbers, now get ready, and then I'm going to go out to the chat line and see what you guys are all thinking. But this is kind of scary, and every day it seems like, every weekday when we do this, it seems like I'm going through a negative Brock number, but this one is pretty shocking. This is Josh DeBow. He does a nice job. Wait, I cut my head right off. You can just see me talking. This is nice. Brock Purdy has started 40 games for the 49ers, regular season and playoffs, excluding 22 title game. Here's the breakdown of the first 20 versus the second 20. So 116.6 to 93.6. Yards per attempt, first 20 to second 20, 9.6 to 8.1. TDs, 39 to 9 versus 26 and 15. And more importantly, because we always used to talk about how great his record was, and that's the bottom line for a quarterback, even though it's not exactly accurate. For some reason, we give quarterbacks a win-loss record and give nobody else on the team a win-loss record. But 17 and 3 in his first 20, 10 and 10 in his second 20. So let that sink in for a minute and watch my mouth move without the top of my head. That's not good. Are they going to still give him the money? Oh, I got to get rid of 𝐾𝐿 here. Are they still going to give him the money? Yeah, I probably think they're going to give him the money because out of desperation. Unless one of those teams, let me go back to 𝐾𝐿 for a second because I've kept this up. Unless a team like Tennessee, Cleveland, or Vegas really wants Brock Purdy. But you know what? I don't know if you watched any of the Seattle game yesterday. Sam Darnold made a couple of throws where, even though I haven't been the biggest Darnold fan in my career, you got to acknowledge, and maybe it's just a magical season that Sam Darnold is having, but he had a game yesterday against Seattle and a couple of throws. Now, Justin Jefferson's on the other end of it. Does that help Sam Darnold? Hell yeah, it does. Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and, Kevin O'Connell's doing a nice job. He's the offensive coordinator / head coach right now in the league, so everybody loves him. So, yeah, Sam Darnold has a lot of help around him. There's no question. And if you throw it up there to number 18, it really makes you look good. But he made a couple of throws, one climb in the pocket in which he just drilled it, and he showed his arm strength. And one of the reasons why last year when Matt Mayoko said just from a pure arm standpoint, he might be the best the 49ers ever had. And everyone went, oh, my God, what are you talking about? And he's not saying better than Montana. He's not saying better than Steve. He's not even saying better than Jeff Garcia. What he's saying is pure arm talent. Because Joe didn't have the biggest arm, and Garcia didn't have the biggest arm, obviously, and Steve had a good arm, but not the biggest arm. It was a combination of everything. It was the mind, the body, the head, Steve's case, athleticism, all those kind of things. And when he said that, everyone went crazy. I did. And yet here he is making these plays. So, unfortunately, I think the Vikings have to keep him. Like, I know J.J. McCarthy's there, but we've seen Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers coexist. We saw Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love coexist. I mean, if I'm Minnesota, I don't know, maybe I trade J.J. McCarthy, but Sam Darnold is a sub-30 quarterback. He's under 30 years old, and the way he's playing, like, everybody's talking about him as an MVP candidate, and I'm like, no way. Then I watched yesterday and was like, my God. I mean, the dude is playing awesome. And maybe he doesn't do that on another team. Maybe, without the weapons. We've talked about that with Brock. But my point in this is that I've always said, hey, you could trade Brock for maybe a top 10 pick, and you just saw there in 𝐾𝐿 how many teams in the top 10 need a quarterback. 4, 5, and 6 for sure. 8 needs a quarterback, the Jets. New Orleans at 10 need a quarterback. So, look, there's going to be jockeying for position at number 2. But picks 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 need a quarterback. No joking about 11. But all those teams, and one, obviously the Giants right now need a quarterback. They're going to take one, and then New England is going to say, all right, we are open for business. What do you got? And so it's going to be a high price for New England. Who it's a perfect position for them to be in because they need everything. So they're going to trade. So there's the situation. I thought, well, you trade Brock Purdy, you get Sam Darnold. Minnesota's not letting Sam Darnold go. There's just no way. They can't. It would be incredibly stupid. So, and I think his price has gone up. I said that I thought Sam Darnold would get like a 3-100. And that was Baker Mayfield's deal last year. I think he's going to get more. I think he's going to get more like 35 or 40. So still, that's going to be under what Brock gets. But I don't see Sam Darnold leaving Minnesota. So that's not going to be an option. And I think they're going to have to trade Brock Purdy. But that number is ugly. Again, that was a Purdy interception. I'm not going to play that. There'll probably be copyright laws on that kind of thing. But anyway, there's the Purdy interception. There's the Purdy thought. I'd love to get your thoughts on yesterday's game. And I'd just love to get your thoughts on beyond injuries. Answer me this. Beyond injuries, what the hell happened? Beyond the weirdness, what would you blame it on? If we played the blame game right now, what would you say the problem with the 49ers season was? And I just think they lost their edge. Penalties yesterday, couldn't stop the run. Quarterback play was not great. All those kind of things. But just beyond the injuries, because we acknowledge that. The weirdness, we acknowledge that. But what would you say it was? I think it's all of the above. I think that Kyle tried to stay positive, but Kyle's kind of a realistic kind of a guy, and I think his dauber got down. I don't know what a dauber is, but I think his dauber got down, and I think it went throughout the team. If I was going to give an MVP, I'd give it to George Kittle. Kittle was awesome. And after the game, they're like, what do you do now? And George is like, if I got games ahead of me, I'm going to play hard. I mean, George Kittle has been a hell of a leader and had an amazing season. And if I think, this just popped into my head, if I think to myself, who had an above-average season for the 49ers? Because the level is high. That'd be tough. Demo Lenore had a nice season. Kittle had a nice season. I can't think of anybody on the – Pooney had a great season. We have nothing to compare it to, but Pooney had a good season, really good season. Along the defensive line, Leonard Floyd came on late. Fred Warner was absolutely great. He got hurt, so there was in the middle of the season there was some games that weren't very Fred-like. But now you hear that he's got the broken ankle or whatever it is, fractured ankle, whatever they're calling it. Mooney Man Ward was terrible, but I understand because of his family situation. I just don't think he was ever able to get past all of that. As far as the safeties, Hufanga was hurt a lot, hit and miss with Jair Brown. I'm 3-4 guys had probably an above-average season for them. And again, acknowledging the injuries, but in terms of just play on the field, which is, like I said, if I keep it between the lines, it's all fair game to me. Brock didn't have a good season. Running backs, I guess Mason early on, give him an acknowledgement. Isaac Guerrero, some of the rookies, absolutely. I think this rookie class is going to be really good. Ricky Pearsall gets an incomplete, but honestly, really good talent on this team. They got to get healthy, all those things. They got to make great draft picks this year. But, Jake Moody didn't have an above-average season. Mitch Wisnowski was banged up. I mean, just go on through the list. When you can count on one hand how many guys had an above-average season, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Dominic Pooney, Demo Lenore. Who am I missing? Not a lot. Jordan Mason. I mean, really. And you got to struggle, at least I do. Now, it is Monday, and I haven't had enough coffee, but still. When you can pretty much, that's fair, right? When you can pretty much put on one hand who had an above-average season, I don't care what kind of talent you have. You're not going to be very good. All right, let's go up to the text. Let's see. Yeah, I do believe Moody has kicked himself out of a job. And look, I don't take any great weird satisfaction that Jake Moody didn't work out. I mean, I was a definite opponent of taking a kicker in the third round, and they probably now will look at this whole thing and say, all right, we're not ever doing that again. And I've told you the story. We do draft coverage literally right next to the draft room. They treat us like gold. They bring in steaks and all this, and we're there for 6 or 8 hours. There's a giant TV. I mean, I love draft stuff. I'm a total draft nerd. And so to me, it's like, if I had a heaven, that would be close. I know. That is so pathetic. But I love it. And so we would do that every single year. Had a great time. We'd do it with Papa. We did it with Copes. It was awesome doing it with Krug because I just like, what do you think, Krug? Did it with Fitz before. I mean, it's awesome. Dante Whitner came in one year, I think last year. It was awesome. So we just have a great time with it. And so they make the pick of the kicker, and Greg told me the whole day. Papa told me the whole day, they're taking a kicker. They're taking a kicker. I'm like, no. And they do, and then I just went, no! You've heard that drop probably a million times on KMBR. And Dante Whitner didn't like it either because he's an Ohio State guy, and you're taking a Michigan kicker. And when Kyle and John walked in after that, they were kind of sheepish about it. And Kyle said he wanted to take a running back, and off the air, John Lynch basically said, hey, at some point you got to do this. And I was like, no, you don't. Anyway, it was funny, and they knew they didn't really want to do that, but they had to. So I'm not calling out Jake Moody. He's not the reason they lost, and he had a great Super Bowl, but just brutal. Let's see. What else? Yeah, the same guy, 2 illegal formations in 4 plays. Ricky just heard it, man. Special teams, you're exactly right, Marco. Special teams, a complete failure. I've said this many times. I don't know how Brian Schneider has a job. We've got plenty of time to talk about the offseason with the 49ers. They've got to get a new defensive coordinator. I think that Steve Wilks spooked Kyle Shanahan bringing somebody in from the outside. I'd be shocked if Robert Saleh didn't come back. Maybe Robert Saleh has a deal with the Packers or something like that because obviously, he's good friends with the head coach there. And so maybe LaFleur, he's good friends with LaFleur. I think they're best men at each other's wedding and everything. So look, if there's something in Green Bay, he might take that because he may not want to come back here. But if I'm the 49ers, there's no salary cap on coaches. Like whatever Robert Saleh wants, Robert Saleh gets. Come back. It was successful before. Let's implement this whole thing. Let's put some changes in on this thing. Let's not make it exactly what it was. Let's acknowledge the fact that, things are changing around the NFL and bring Robert Saleh back. I don't care who the special teams coordinator is as long as it's not Brian Schneider. And I hate asking for guys' jobs, but come on, man. It's horrible. And he didn't miss that 41-yard field goal by Jake Moody. I get that. But just all season long, it's been a constant, right? There was a few games where it wasn't, but you can go back to some of the losses, go back to the first Rams game. Just it's special teams over and over and over. So you got to get a new DC. You got to get a new special teams coach just because you need to cleanse this whole season. You get a top 10 pick for the 49ers, which to me, if there's an offensive tackle there, you have to take an offensive tackle. You just have to because it's a premium position. Quarterback is a premium position. Cornerback is a premium position. Left tackle, pass rushers. So in that realm, you're going to take the best one available, clearly. But if there's a tackle who can play left tackle for the next 10 years, one of those guys, that's what you think, then you have no choice but to take him because I don't know that Trent Williams is going to come back. At his age, who's to say? Because if Trent thinks they're out of a window, that's the only reason Trent Williams is playing. He's got plenty of money. Did you see him out there begging for a forward when Brock Purdy was giving out forwards? He's like, bro, come on, man. Maybe he was rehabbing, but he's like, I'm cool. I got the electric rolls that's worth like $500,000. He's a car guy. Nothing against Toyota. Modesto Toyota is awesome. I love Toyotas. I drove a Toyota for years and years and years. They were incredible. But I'm just saying, Trent Williams is like, I'm good. Like, you can give those, it's an $85,000 truck, and you get 10 of them. I mean, come on. He should take those back, by the way. I gave you guys those $85,000 trucks, and this is how you treat me in Miami? What, are you kidding me? Ridiculous. Santa can take stuff back, man. If you've been bad, that offensive line had been bad. They deserved coal. Like, take all those trucks back and replace them with coal. Here's your Christmas present. Make me run for my life all the time? What, are you kidding me? All right, I've gone on my rant long enough. Give me your thoughts on this whole thing. Hit me up on the chat. Hit me up at John Lund Radio. It doesn't matter to me. It's just what I'm seeing. The offensive line, the missed kicks, the special teams, they're going to run the football, but you can't stop it. That starts with the defensive line. You got to get penetration into the backfield like they used to do. Linebackers have got to have blockers off them. It's the whole thing. We've got a ton of time to talk about what the offseason is going to be, but it's just brutal. It's just brutal to watch it week in and week out. It's the same thing. You think you're going to acknowledge things, and let's be honest, Kyle Shanahan, I've said this before, did not have a good season. Whether it be play calling, whether it was who he hiring Nick Sorensen, keeping Brian Schneider, not sending a message to the team in the middle of the season that this is unacceptable. If a player had performed like Brian Schneider's special teams, he would have gotten cut early in the season. He had to send a message. I don't know if you're into message sending. I don't know, but you're a desperate football team getting older, trying to get to the Super Bowl, and you're going to allow this week in and week out. If it was a player, he would have been benched. If he was a player, he would have been cut, depending on the player. You're not cutting Trent Williams. You're not cutting Christian McCaffrey. You understand. But Brian Schneider is part of the pecking order. It's one of those guys that you can send a message with. You got to bring in a new special teams guy. If for nothing else, just send a message to the team that we're not putting up with this shit. This is horrible. And it's just weak. That was the frustrating part probably as a fan. Okay, we have injuries. We acknowledge it. We have weirdness. We acknowledge it. But you know what's going to happen? You can just write it down before it even happened. There's going to be a special teams dumb play. There's going to be a bunch of penalties. There's going to be stupid turnovers. The other team's going to run the football, and you know they're going to run the football, and you still can't stop it. Like, just all these, there's going to be mental mistakes every single week. That's just what happened for the entire season. Just the entire season was that. The other team's going to come back, and the 49ers can't. That's just, that was the season. That was the entire season. Penetration in the backfield. I know. You know what, Tacky? Right when I said that, I knew that someone was going to do that, and I knew it would be you. I know I'm the spokesperson for Toyota. I'm not saying Toyota's bad. Toyota's awesome, but I didn't see Trent Williams out there. Trent Williams is a big time car guy. Like, he's a car snob. He's a car snob. Like certain people, they look down on you. Oh, you're pouring me that whiskey at your house, or you only have that beer, or beer snobs, booze snobs. He's a car snob. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Blank check for Saul. I agree 100%. Let's see. All coaching hires. Yeah, falls. Yeah, that's what I mean. Look, this is Kyle's show. Good morning, Greg. Good to see you. This is Kyle's show. Hi, kid. Talking about Ricky. Moody should have been cut last season. Look, they're not going to get egg on their face, but right now, hi, sports fan. Let's see, yeah, I'm good. Says players had no fire this season. They don't believe in the coach. Yeah, I think that just to kind of tread over this and then we'll be done with it. I just think that once they just knew, just like we knew as fans, once they knew that they weren't getting there because it was just too weird and they just, that feeling that you get, this is our year. Just like this is not our year. They just knew. They knew just like we knew. And look, professional athletes are mentally strong. They've come back from a lot of different things. People have counted them out, but they started to realize it. Hell, we're missing Trent. We're missing Bosa. We're missing, Funga got hurt and then he came back. Like, Dre Greenlaw's still not back. But I can't talk about that every single day. You can't just sit there and say, the Niners game, injuries. The Niners game, weirdness. Niners game, injuries. Niners game, weirdness. Like, it's just, after a while, it's like the guys who are out there are the guys who are out there. And you know where we learn that? From them. Kyle Shanahan, always, next man up, players. Hey, so-and-so's hurt. What do you think? Next man up. So you're the one telling us that. So if the guys aren't stepping up, and it's because this team, salary-wise, is top-heavy. So, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of – when you have to pay everybody the way that they've paid everybody, you're not going to have a bunch of competent backups. You got to go to the rookies. Rookies play inconsistent. That's just the way it goes. So they've got a lot of things to acknowledge in this offseason, a lot of things to fix. But if everybody comes back healthy and they get a top 10 pick, and they got to fix Brock. There's no question about it. Those numbers are damning against Brock because the one thing we said in the first 20, and he went 17-3 in his first 20 starts, and he's 10-10 in his last 20 starts, and we can see it on the field. The biggest problem with Brock, he's never had the physical attributes. He's not making the good decisions like he used to. He's not keeping the ball out of harm's way. He's trying to do too much. And maybe it's just this season because there's been so many injuries and weirdness, and in the back of his mind, he's thinking to himself, I got to do more. Well, you don't. Because that's who you are, and that's why you've been so good, is you realize what you can and cannot do. And by trying to do too much, that's not going to do it. And we'll get into the offseason, and because I think it's a tired topic for me to come in here every single day and be like, are we going to pay Brock? 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 It's like, we've heard it. So we'll get into that in the offseason a little bit more. Hi, Daryl. Good to see you. Let's see what else. No troughs in the trenches. The P trough. Trenches, troughs. Did I say something like that? I might have. Anyway, there you go. That's the 49ers thoughts. Give me your thought on it. Chat is wide open. Love to get your thoughts on what you think went wrong. We can get a ton into what they're going to do to fix it. First and foremost, they've got to pick. I think they got to pick an offensive tackle. I think they got to get a guard. Banks is a free agent. Brendel's not going to get it done too many times this year. You look back at the film or you're watching a play or whatever, you don't have to go back to the film to see it, and Jake Brendel's on his butt. So start with Dominic Puni, and the other four positions to me are up for grabs. And you got to quit this shit. There's this idea in the 49ers right now of Chris Forrester can just fix anything. Because Chris Forrester, we don't need to take offensive linemen high. And I agree with that with interior offensive linemen unless it's somebody completely special. But with tackles, you got to get somebody in the first round. Trent's not going to be around forever. Trent might be done. Honestly, Trent might be done. I don't know why you play Trent. I don't know why you play Bosa. I wouldn't play any of these guys. Just let them have an entire off season. I'm sure some of it is, it's the playoffs and they're tired, and I guess we can acknowledge that kind of thing, but they're done. Those guys are done. All right, there are my thoughts on the 49ers. We'll go back to it if we need to. But let's go to what a weird weekend by the Warriors. So they beat Minnesota, but then Steve Kerr goes on a bit of a rant. And, some of this has to, at some point we have to acknowledge this, that the Warriors are not developing young players great. James Wiseman didn't work. Kuminga didn't work. Moody's not getting consistent playing time. I don't know what the story is on Moody. I really like Moody. Podziemski has regressed. So, there's been some guys that they have, but essentially Steve Kerr likes veterans, and he gets on young players. And maybe it's, maybe it's Draymond Green. Maybe it's, he has the tough love. Maybe some guys can handle it. Maybe some guys can't. But I'm going to start out with Steve Kerr after the game talking about players moving the ball for Steph Curry. He's talking about Podziemski. He's talking about Jonathan Kuminga. And then we will acknowledge that. So let's start with this. Take a listen. This is Steve Kerr, despite the win, not happy with his young players. So you'll hear Kerr first, and then Brandon Podziemski reacting to what Steve Kerr said. Here you go.
When you have Steph Curry on the team, you pass the ball, because you pass it 2 or 3 times, the defense is scrambling, all hell breaks loose. So it's a choice. We can either do that and win games, or we can shoot, a whole bunch of 15-foot contested shots in the middle of the shot clock and be a lousy NBA team. It's up to us, and we are hammering that point home with our team. Thank you.
When I'm out there, if I'm open, I shoot it. If not, I make play. I don't really look too much into, I know we have Steph Curry on the court, and if he's open, I'm going to throw the ball to him. But yeah, I don't really look too deep into those messages.
All right, by the way, I want to acknowledge Danny Emmerman. He used to work at KNBR, now with the Bay Area News Group, and the guy does a great job, and he asked, I think, both of those questions. So as True Blue says, Kerr not happy with the kids, well, isn't that new? So some of this you got to put on the Warriors, all right? Some of this you absolutely positively have to put on the Warriors. But before I get into that kind of a discussion, here's Pods. Then Pods comes back the next day, and he puts this on social media. To clarify and for further context, Steph is Steph, and I've been very open with my respect for him on and off the court. He's a legend and a GOAT for a reason. On the court, you have to be cautious against overthinking every possession. You have to trust your work, do what the coaches want you to do, and make a good IQ play. At times, that's a pass, taking a shot, or even making a good screen to free up a teammate. Now, I have no problem whatsoever with what Podziemski is saying. In fact, Klay Thompson used to say that stuff all the time. I'm not going to overthink this thing. And remember when Kevin Durant became a Warrior and everybody ran to Klay and said, there's only one ball. What are you going to do? And Klay basically said, when I get the ball, I shoot. And so that's essentially what Podziemski is saying, and everybody's all over him. Oh, my God, Podziemski, oh, wow, I can't believe he said that. So then he has to clarify things and all this kind of stuff. There's something weird going on. I've said this before, and I'll play something for you from Bobby Marks in just a second about Zion. But there's weird chemistry going on, whatever the case may be, and as True Blue says, they haven't been great. They have not been great with young players. You just can't deny it, because the guys, if I was Moses Moody, I'd want the hell out of here. Jonathan Kuminga, while there is maturity issues, and I've told you this before, he's not the most coachable guy. There's issues with Kuminga. He's been jerked around a little bit too. Steve Kerr has this habit, and I like Steve Kerr. I think he's awesome. Having said that, as I talk about before, it doesn't mean you're beyond reproach because you're a tremendous coach. You don't make every right decision. I think there's an issue potentially with the new age of athlete, and Steve Kerr's an old school guy, and I get it. Scream, yell, and he's, look, he's great with people, but just the track record is the track record. I'd be pissed if I was Moody. Podziemski has regressed. I don't know what that is due to. I do think they need to make a move. There was reports over the weekend that the Warriors more than ever are open to the idea of trading some of these young players. I told you the valuation last week at $9.1 billion with a B, that Steph Curry is a big part of. Without Steph Curry, they don't have a new arena. Without Steph Curry, they're not the most valuable team in the NBA, ahead of the Lakers, ahead of the Knicks at $9.1 billion. They're just not. So you owe Steph Curry. What anybody thinks as far as Steph Curry is concerned, nope, we don't owe him. Until Steph Curry is run into the ground, the Warriors own him. If he's on this roster, the Warriors owe him. So to that front, I've said, trade Jonathan Kuminga, trade Brandon Podziemski, trade some picks, because with or without those guys, you're going to the lottery. That's just a fact. They're going to the lottery with or without him, and I haven't seen enough improvement. Now, maybe Kuminga goes to another team and he blows up. I thought that was going to happen with Wiseman. His athleticism, all those kind of things, I think he's broken mentally, so I don't think that Wiseman is ever going to get to his vast potential. And then he just blew out Achilles or knee or something like that in Indiana. So he's just starting. It's kind of a Greg Oden thing. Like, he's just injury after injury after injury, and his confidence was broken here. He just couldn't handle it. I don't know what's going to happen with these other guys. I don't think Kuminga is going to reach his potential here. I think Podziemski is having a mental. You can tell. I mean, you don't need to go to social media and clarify things. I don't think Podziemski said anything wrong. I think it was a Klay Thompson response. I think it was, hey, I just got to go out there and play. He's overthinking it. You can tell in that response. He's overthinking on the court. And we know how overthinking. It happens to all of us. Like, you start overthinking it. Should I do this? Should I do that? And now he's mentally, he seems broken. Wiseman was broken. I don't know where Kuminga is. If I'm Moses Moody, I'm like, what the hell else do you want me to do? Like, every time he's on the floor, he plays well. He defends. He shoots threes. He hits open threes. He makes smart plays. I don't know what else that guy's supposed to do. I would absolutely want to be moved if I was him. Moses Moody better than Jake Moody. Oh, I love it. Let's see. Yeah, Danny Everman, Gabe Kapler's best friend. We had Everman on. He's a great kid, and he's a very good writer. And I was standing there, and what was cool about that was the subjects will try to, like, call you out. And it's like, that's not our job. You know, we ask the questions, you answer the questions. You don't have to like the questions. But Gabe always was trying to make, I'll get back at this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Then Emmerman did a great job in coming back to him. A lot of young reporters would be like, He wasn't. That was a great play. That was a great job by him. All right, let me play this for you. Let me play some Bobby Marks for you. And you're going to disagree with this, because every time I bring this up, people are like, no. They get mad at me. I mean, we're having a great time. It's a Monday morning. I know that the 49ers game sucked, and the Warriors are 15-12, blah, blah, blah. It's just okay. But every time I bring up Zion, without fail, people get mad. But this is a guy who was in the front office of an NBA team. Now, he's got a different trade. He doesn't include Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think that this trade would ever be acceptable to New Orleans, but they're 5-22, and bad teams do stupid stuff. So maybe they would do this just to get rid of the headache that is Zion, because he's hurt so much. But here's Bobby Marks' idea for a Zion trade to the Warriors that does not include Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe you'll like this.
Golden State would be certainly that team there for Zion here. And here's why. If you're looking for that next superstar that maybe has that upside, I think Williamson could be that guy if he's healthy. And when you look at it, what would New Orleans or Golden State have to give out and trade? Andrew Wiggins certainly is that big trade number. And then you look at it certainly from a player like Brandon Podziemski, for example. And then we're going to put Kevon Looney in there. And that works there. So certainly Golden State, if you don't have to give up and you're looking for that potential all-star out there on a low risk there.
Wow.
All right. All due respect to Bobby Marks, would a deal, it would work financially, because I tried all these different deals in the NBA trade machine, and it was hard to put Kuminga in one of those deals. I think he's making like $7.6 million. So anyway, he puts in there Looney, Wiggins, and Podziemski. Looney, Wiggins, and Podziemski. If they could do that trade without moving Jonathan Kuminga, I think it would be an absolute miracle. Now, again, he knows people around the league, so he knows the NBA landscape better than I do. Now, you got to throw some picks in there or something like that. Wiggins, to me, he's having a good year. It wouldn't be a bad time if I look at trades like stocks. I'd trade Debo right now if I could. We can't. The trade deadline's up, but after he scored that touchdown, he broke a couple of tackles near the goal line. If I could trade him, if it was early in the season, I'd be like, "Who wants Debo? Look at how good he looks." But you can't do that. What do you have? 7 for 98 plus that touchdown, in which he was actually Debo for a minute there and looked really, really good. Anyway, I digress. I don't think you could get that done. Maybe because of the way that Wiggins is playing. Maybe that New Orleans is just absolutely positively sick of Zion's act. Maybe. It could be 100%. So maybe it's different than I think. You'd have to put picks in there. 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, I think his value is down, and Looney's only in that deal because it makes sense from a financial standpoint. If I was not Jake Moody, but Moses Moody, Moses Moody. Yeah, that's Kendrick Perkins. If I was Moody, I would want the Warriors Moody. I would want to be included in that deal. I'm like, please, please, please get me on the court. I think he's going to be a good player. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. I'm just saying he's going to be a really nice rotation piece that the Warriors don't seem to know what to do with. So if I'm Moody, I want in on that deal too. But if your team has Zion and keeps Kuminga, then I think you're cooking with gas. Every time I bring this up, I realize that people get angry and mad. Jones, it's kind of stuff that you do. I just brought this back just to remind you when he's healthy, which isn't often, but this is a 6'6", 285-pound guy that you'd like to get down to about 260. So he could get to the rim anytime he wants. He would need to extend his game out to the three-point line, but the athleticism is off the charts of that kind of stuff. I would go see that. I would buy a ticket for this guy.
Jabari Smith.
And yeah, he's hurt all the time. I will acknowledge that. Some of it, I think, is obviously because of the weight. Some of it is because it's a bad organization. It's a miracle how many times that a guy like this, with this kind of talent, goes to the right organization, and all of a sudden he's healthy. Because the Warriors would just be like, look, you're losing 20 pounds. You're just going to lose 20 pounds. And the athleticism is off the charts. You've seen that a million times. I get it. I'm just reminding you. And it's probably not going to sway you. But if they don't have to give up Kuminga, are you willing to take a risk like that? I mean, come on. Health is the main issue. Rockin', you're 100% right. Hi, BSD55. Would the Warriors call out his poor eating habits and fitness? Yeah, absolutely. I think if you got Zion Williamson, okay, New Orleans is probably on the verge of saying to hell with it. I don't think that deal would work. I just think New Orleans would be like, are you kidding me? Podziemski's down. Wiggins is inconsistent. Looney's only in there for money. Maybe Moses Moody in a first-round pick or whatever the case, or a couple of first-round picks. I think it would be more than that because Zion's 24 years old. He still has a lot of chapters to be written in his NBA career. Tons of injuries. There's lots of guys. There's history of lots of guys who have injuries. He's got to lose weight. I don't know how New Orleans hasn't gotten him to do it. He's got to lose weight. He's got to be in better shape. Can you imagine what he could be? He could be a monster. He's playing at probably 285, 290. He could play at 260, 265, lose 20, 25 pounds. He'd be a monster. He does at 24. He has the ability to lead the league in scoring. He has the ability to be a double-digit rebounder. I'm just saying, if I'm the Warriors, you're not going to get the perfect player. You're not. So if you want to extend your window at all, you're going to have to take a risk. So how many guys who can be clear number ones? I know the word is potential, and potential in sports is a bad word, even though everybody loves it. I say it all the time. Potential means you haven't gotten there yet. But how many guys can you get right now? You're going to have to, if you're the Warriors, you have to get a flawed player. That's the only way, and then you're going to have to just shine that rock. Can you do it? Well, this organization is a pretty good organization. Now, I just got done saying that they don't develop young talent. Oops. So that could be a problem. But I think that this is a good organization. I think that they can, it's not a matter of talent with him. It's a matter of, hey, man, you got to be a professional. We've heard he's immature. Clearly, he's not losing the weight. He's not in the best shape he could be in. But if you get to this organization and they say, look, A, B, C, and D, let's go, he could be great. And I don't see a lot of other guys that have the ability to do what he could do. Now, could you get a Kyle Kuzma or a Brandon Ingram or, there's some other guys' names floating out there? You could, but I don't think it's much of a difference. I think it's kind of a Dennis Schroeder. It might be better than a Dennis Schroeder, and I like Schroeder. It's nothing against him. It's just Schroeder is not going to, I don't think, take you to an NBA championship and NBA finals, whereas Zion, if, and another philosophy is too many ifs and your team's not good. Again, I'm kind of breaking all my rules here, but Zion Williamson would be worth it, especially in the way that Bobby Marks just had a trade put together without Jonathan Kuminga. I doubt New Orleans would do a deal without Jonathan Kuminga, but he just made one up. And he knows the NBA a lot better than I do. So give me your thoughts on that. If Kuminga's not the deal, how do you say no? How do you say no? Let's check. Yeah, remember? Yeah, Danny or Daryl, I remember that. Yeah, at Duke, he just ripped right out of his shoe. That just tells you. It's like, bro, if you're ripped right out of your shoe, I mean, I know you're quick and athletic and all those kind of things, but man, it's a problem. What do you think? Without Podziemski, you don't want to put Looney in the deal? Rockin', you don't want to put Looney in that deal? Let's see. All right. There you go. Anybody else? Without JK in the deal, I don't know how you could say no to that. Without JK in the deal, I don't know how you could say no to that. All right. Other things going on today. By the way, I want to acknowledge everybody today. Thank you for coming in on a Monday edition of the show. We're not near done, but I just want to acknowledge everybody. We've been going about almost an hour now. Well, I guess it was 5 after, so I don't want to cheat. So we're going about 54 minutes. Love that you're here today. Thank you for joining me on a Monday. I know you have plenty of places to go and to be. Do remember, not only the YouTube channel where we start at 8 a.m. Pacific time on John Lund Unleashed, but also we got a podcast. So right after the show, I click hit or I click download on that. Goes right out to wherever you get your favorite podcast, Apple, Spotify, and the such. Also during the day, if news breaks, I'll jump right back on here or I'll post some things. I'm on all social media platforms, of course, at John Lund Radio, at John Lund Radio on Twitter /X is where I am mostly, but I'm everywhere. Threads, Instagram, Facebook, all these different kind of places. So there you go. And I've said this the last couple of shows. We're dotting I's and crossing T's on a new website. That way, you can just go to one place. All the podcasts will be there. All the YouTube shows will be there. All that kind of stuff. And I don't have to sit there and go here. And you're just like, oh my God, how many places do I have to go for this guy? So we're finishing up on a website. Be very simple. Click, you go there, and everything will be in one place. So we've talked a ton of things. If you missed today, we acknowledged Ricky Henderson at 65 passes away, which I still can't believe. The 49ers yesterday, typical 49ers. A lot of penalties, missed kicks, special teams issue. Brock really didn't have his head on with that late interception. It was first down with 1:52. They had an opportunity at 22-17. Did not happen, but the good thing is, 𝐃𝐿, you love it. They're almost top 10 pick there. We got into Brock's numbers, first 20, second 20. As far as games, will we cut my head off? 39-9 interception the first 20, 26-15 in the second 20, a record of 17-3. Versus a record of 10-10, and that's where we all acknowledged it. We're like, Brock 17-3. How can you say anything? 10-10 in his last 20. I still think they're going to pay him because the guy I thought who could slide in for the 49ers, Sam Darnold, who was great again yesterday in a win over Seattle, they're going to keep him. I am 100% convinced that the Vikings are going to keep him. J.J. McCarthy, you're just going to have to sit. That's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have to sit for a while. They'll probably sign Darnold, I bet, to like a 3-year. He might be going upwards of $40 million. At least, it's 35 is 105 over 3 years, 40 is 120. It's going to be between there. They're not going to let Sam Darnold go. That would just be stupid, to be honest with you. He's on a 1-year deal. Talked about Zion Williamson, Bobby Marks. I just put it up on the thing there, or on the click there for you. Bobby Marks says they could do a deal without Jonathan Kuminga. I don't know about that. In a weird weekend for the Warriors in which Steve Kerr called out his young players. Brandon Podziemski said, look, man, I just got to play ball. I'm going to shoot. He had to apologize or clarify his comments and his love for Steph Curry. I don't think he did anything wrong. So that's what you missed if you just got here. So thank you so much. Acknowledging everybody in the chat. Love that you're here. Tell all your friends. Make sure you subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. All those kind of things. Just wanted to do a quick recap on things. Hi, David. The Pelicans aren't trading Zion for that pile of dung. I agree with you. I don't think they would either, but they're a bad organization. Bad organizations do stupid stuff. I don't know how frustrated they are in Zion Williamson. I do know that Bobby Marks, we've had him on many times. We had him on many times on KNBR. I do know that Bobby Marks knows the NBA, probably knows what that tells me is there's a frustration level of the Pelicans because when he's in the lineup, they're really good. When he's not in the lineup, they're, 5-23 now? I mean, they're absolutely atrocious. So maybe they're at that line of, you know what? We're just going to get rid of this guy. It happens all the time, but it happens all the time with bad teams. And I think the guy would explode on the Warriors because it's a good organization, even though I will acknowledge they haven't done a great job of developing their young talent as far as Kuminga and Podziemski sliding backwards, and Moses Moody's been jerked around. And obviously James Wiseman didn't work out, but I think that's a Wiseman issue. I think he is mentally lost and all those kind of things. So, look, I get it if people don't want to take on Zion Williamson, but like you said, I agree with you. It's a pile. I wouldn't say it's a pile of dung. That's too harsh. But Wiggins is way too inconsistent. Podziemski's on a down. Looney's only in there for money. I would want Moses Moody, and I would want picks if I were the Pelicans, and I have a feeling that other teams would put something bigger and better together. So I don't think that is going to be something that would get it done either. I would agree with you with that. All right, keep them coming on the chat line at John Lund Radio on Twitter. Let's move to baseball very quickly. Just over the weekend, there you go. That barely takes my head off. Paul Goldschmidt, the Yankees, agreed over the weekend, $12.5 million. Strong veteran bat, blah, 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 blah. They had Anthony Rizzo. They want Paul Goldschmidt. They got Paul Goldschmidt. A lot of people hit me up over the weekend and were upset. We could have had Paul Goldschmidt. And while I will acknowledge that a lot of first basemen went off the market this weekend, as you can see there, as that cuts my head off. Christian Walker to Houston, Goldschmidt to the Yankees. That was a nice trade by Arizona, I think. Carlos Santana to Cleveland. And there was one trade, Nathaniel Lowe went from Texas to Washington, so he's no longer available. Pete Alonso, Anthony Rizzo, Josh Bell, Ty France. Don't love it. Would they go after Alonso? I doubt it. I don't think. I mean, they got the young first baseman coming up. I don't know if he's going to be, good enough. He's a great prospect, but are you going to sign Pete Alonso to a 5-year deal? Probably not. And with the amount of money that he's going to require, and of course you got Scott Boras as his agent. So that's even though he got some guys done quickly, I think Blake Snell probably told Scott Boras, "Look, dude, I am not waiting around this. I am not. So get it done." Whereas Pete Alonso's just saying, "Okay, I'll just wait for the market to develop. Whatever happens, happens." But there's going to be a team that needs first baseman. He's waiting for the list to shrink, and now all of a sudden his leverage is up. But I don't expect a Pete Alonso deal. I would also look at guys who could potentially play first base, but it's got to be on a short-term deal. That's what the Giants are thinking of themselves because they have a prospect in Bryce Eldridge that they're thinking is going to be here in a year or two. And they've rushed so many guys up to the majors out of necessity. I just don't want to see this guy rushed. He looks like a really special bat. I talk about the mental side of the game, being jerked around and all those kind of things. And back in the day, if you remember, Brandon Belt was up and down, up and down, up and down, and I think it affected his mental well-being. I think with young prospects, look, you can put them up here. There's no doubt about it. And if they should be mentally strong enough to handle it, but I don't want to rush this kid, Bryce Eldridge, out of necessity. I would like them to get a first baseman for a year or two. And I'm not a Lamont Wade Jr. guy. I'm sorry. I think that if you look at this lineup, he could work in some lineups. If you already got enough power at the power positions, first base still is a power position. Willie Adames is really nice. But we've said this many, many times before. Right field is a power position. They don't have power there. First base is a power position. They don't have it there. They've got some bats in the lineup. Patrick Bailey is a negative bat. He's a great defensive player, but they don't have enough bats. And first base is a place that they need to acknowledge and they need to upgrade at. In fact, if you look at this right here, it says first baseman still available in free agency and trade. It says free agency, Alonso, Rizzo, Bell, blah, blah. And this says in trades, Lamont Wade Jr., Nathaniel Lowe. Lowe just got traded to Washington. So they're acknowledging there must be word around the league that, hey, Lamont Wade Jr. is available. Problem is, while he gets on base at a pretty high clip, he's average defensively, and he's always hurt. Had a lot of leg injuries, hamstrings, all these kind of things. So he gets on base, and that's great. But normally that's a position of power, and he's, he walks a ton. At one point during the season, he had an OPS near 500, or a on-base percentage of nearly 500. Those things are valuable. There's no question. It's just if you have a team that's already got enough bats, and then you have him high up in the order, like, batting second or something like that for your big guns, then that's a great thing. But for this team, they need more. They need a big bat at first base, and they've got to be able to do it short term so that Eldridge in a couple of years could be ready. So that's not an easy thing to accomplish. I'm sure Buster Posey's trying. I'm sure that you're impatient. We've talked, obviously, about pitching, and Corbin Burns and Roki Sasaki is out there, and he's talking to a bunch of different teams. I don't hear the Giants, by the way, in those conversations. You hear the Dodgers, hear the Padres, hear the Yankees, hear the Mets. Even the Phillies, I guess, got involved. The Cubs are involved. I have not heard the Giants, which probably means he's coming here. So there's that. What else do we have today? Anything else? No, that's all I got. We can go back to 49ers. People seem to be absolutely 100% enamored with the 49ers. All I'm acknowledging is, look, the season's over. Maybe you don't buy my, there's this mental side that the minute they knew, and it didn't take yesterday. They just knew during the season, just like we did, that it just wasn't their year. You always get that feeling. Like last year was cool. 2019 was cool. Even when Brock Purdy was a rookie going into Philadelphia, if he hadn't gotten hurt, that felt like a special season. You just know. And so when the season starts, you just think, I did. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to New Orleans this year. That's going to be fun because I've covered 2 Super Bowls in New Orleans. There's not a better place. There's just not. Everything is all around. You can walk. You can do everything. It's a short ride to the Mercedes-Benz or whatever they call it, the Superdome. It's the perfect place for a Super Bowl. It's not spread out. It's awesome. Every night, I was telling my son, he's covering the Super Bowl this year, and I'm like, you won't even believe it. The food is phenomenal. If you're into casinos, there's just nothing it doesn't have. I've been to New Orleans, covered the Sugar Bowl there, and was there on a New Year's Eve. It was the most insane thing I've seen in my life. And I've been to Vegas for New Year's Eve. It was insane. Insane in the membrane. Just nuts. New Orleans. Awesome. So, look, at the beginning of the season, just like every season, we think, well, they'll at least get to the NFC Championship game. And we kind of have that expectation on the 49ers. So we've known this for a while. The players have known it for a while. Mentally, I think they kind of shift into this whole thing, except for George Kittle all season long, Fred Warner all season long. Acknowledge Debo, what he did yesterday, a little too late. Still remember the drop against the Rams. Nothing you do moving forward can erase that. But still, I liked how he played yesterday because they knew before the game yesterday they had nothing. And that's got to be hard mentally, like, okay, we have nothing to play for. For a team that thought Super Bowl or bust this year, for an organization that's just how it feels, it was weird yesterday. So give me your thoughts on any of those things. We can talk Niners, we can talk Warriors, we can talk first base market. Is there somebody out there I'm missing? Because they've got to go out. They got to start scouring some bad teams. They got to start thinking about an outfielder with a bat that might be able to move to first base. I was a little surprised. I don't know how involved they were in Bellinger. I was a little surprised on Bellinger. Now, his number is big. It's over $30 million this year, and I think the Cubs are paying like $6 or $7 million. But, now he's a lefty bat, maybe righty, but it's a heavy righty lineup. And if you went after Bellinger, he's a West Coast guy, he's from Arizona, played for the Dodgers, you would think that they would have been on Bellinger. Maybe they were, but it seemed to me that from the get-go, after the Yankees lost Juan Soto, that and obviously Kyle Tucker, the Yankees were in on Kyle Tucker apparently, that once that the Cubs got Kyle Tucker, they gave up their number one prospect and their number one pick in last year's draft, Cam Smith, for him, that then they were going to move Cody Bellinger. Bellinger could play center. Bellinger could play any outfield position plus first base. I thought that would have been a pretty good deal. I know he was a Dodger. I get it. $30 million was way too much, and he had some options after that. But he would have been point is that he would have been a short-term fix, and you wouldn't have to rush Bryce Eldridge. Now I don't know what they're going to do, because Lamont Wade Jr. for another year. Now you could do that, but you have to upgrade somewhere else with the bat. You got to upgrade then in right field. Ramos is going to be in left field. Where else can you upgrade? Tyler Fitzgerald's probably going to play second base. Bailey's going to catch. I just don't. You could upgrade right field. You could upgrade first base. Everybody else is pretty well set. Fitzgerald's going to be at second. Adames is going to be at short. Chapman's going to be at third. Bailey's going to catch. Ramos in left. Jung-Hoo Lee has a big contract. He's going to be in center. I'm surprised how many people just put Jung-Hoo Lee in there and said he's going to be great. He wasn't great last year. It was okay. It wasn't great, but he's going to be in center. That's done. So it's right field and first base. That's where your offensive upgrades are going to come from. They're not good enough offensively. Adames is a great upgrade. There's no question. And I think that Tyler Fitzgerald, if he can kind of be what he was last year, but be there at second base, he's athletic, he can steal bases. I would like them to change their philosophy that way and generate some runs. But first base and right field is it. So to me, Lamont Wade Jr., great, but I don't see anybody knocking down the door for Lamont Wade Jr. If it's Lamont Wade Jr. at first and Mike Yastrzemski in right, even though Adames is great, I don't see a whole lot of difference in this offense year to year. So give me that thought. All right, let's go out to the chat line. Brock, let's see. Daryl says Brock will be fine. We'll see. It's going to be really. By the way, good to see you, senior softball games. Let me see here. What was I saying about Brock? I think they're going to have to pay Brock. We've talked about this every friggin' day, and I'm sure you're sick of it, but I just don't see it. I don't see the option of Darnold being out there, and that's the only option I see. What else do we got? All right. Man, there's a lot of good stuff today. You guys are on fire. This is awesome. Great stuff. Trading away Looney. Don't want to trade away Looney? Yeah. Pile of dung. I acknowledge that one. Santander. Tacky, that's a good call. How many? You know what? I was going to look that up last night. I'm an idiot. I was going to look up how many games Anthony Santander has played at first base in his career. I'll have that tomorrow. Goldschmidt had a worse OPS than Wade last year. Yeah, I I'm not upset that Goldschmidt signed with the Yankees. I'm not upset at all about that. That didn't make me excited. And that would have been fine. I mean, would it be an upgrade over Wade? I don't know. He's an older guy. He was not good last year, and I didn't love it. He wasn't the guy that I would be excited about. I got to look up Santander and see how much he's played at first base. But yeah, I mean, there's a 40 home run guy. He's not going to hit 40 here, but he's a guy that I would absolutely positively try to upgrade with. Anything I'm missing? Let's see. Wizards are looking to trade Kyle Kuzma. I just don't think that's a huge difference maker to me. I don't see that being a huge difference maker. Maybe it is to you. It doesn't seem to be for me. There's a stat on Jake Moody. Only made 76.7% of his field goals, ranks 29th in the NFL for the season. Part of the problem with Jake Moody getting cut is you're going to have to acknowledge the fact that you'd spent a third-round pick, sandwiched between the third and the fourth. To me, it's a third-round pick. You spent a third-round pick on him. And if you cut him, you're going to have egg on your face. And I always say this, then what are you going to do? Everybody wants to fire everybody. Fire this guy, cut that guy, waive this guy. Who's going to be better? Maybe you just acknowledge that it was a bad signing, maybe or a bad draft pick, but teams are loath to do that. I think they'll probably give him another chance. Look, you're preaching to the choir when you say you don't want him anymore. That was a huge miss. You could see Kyle was pissed on the sideline. He was absolutely pissed after that miss, but what are you going to do? I mean, I think they're going to keep him. I'm crazy. But what do you think they're going to do it? Rockin' says, Giants got to get Burns and put that under our Christmas tree. Last week, I'm sure you saw this. They said that Corbin Burns is going to wait till after Christmas. What that tells me is I think the reports are true. I've talked to a couple of people in baseball about this. I think the reports are true. Corbin Burns wants to pitch for the Giants, but he's not going to leave $40 or $50 million on the table. And people forget that Toronto's a big market team, and they've offered him the big contract. He doesn't necessarily want to go there, and he's kind of waiting on the Giants to maybe come around. So, to me, that's their biggest need. Like, we could talk about first base and right field being offensive positions that they need to move. I think that they can make a trade for that player, but they've got to replace Blake Snell in the rotation. They have got to get a number 2. That can't be Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray is still an unknown. If you put Corbin Burns in there at the 2, and then you got Robbie Ray, then the 2 young guys, whatever. And I've said this before. I like Birdsong better than I do Harrison. That opinion is probably in the minority, but I would absolutely trade one of those guys. I would trade Harrison over Birdsong. I really like what Birdsong can do when you see him at his height. But I think that Harrison and a package with Harrison in it could bring back a major offensive player, whether that be in right field or first base. And that's what they need. And then you get Robbie Ray, or you can trade for some other guys, or whatever the case may be. Pitchers, as we always say, will come here. By the way, Walker Buehler this morning signed. Did I put that in my notes today? Buehler signed with the Red Sox. Who else? There was a couple of signings late. I don't think I put those in my notes today. But, yeah, I guess I didn't. But, let's see. Walker Buehler to the Red Sox. I talked about the trade to Washington, Nathaniel Lowe from Texas. There's one more signing that I forgot about. Anyway, Sean Manaea, former A&M Giant. 3 years, $75 million to stay with the Mets. That was the latest one that I had there. All right, is that it? Enrique, good to see you. Everybody, True Blue. Jason, thank you very much. Hargrave signing really hurt, no doubt. I mean, they were desperate. That goes back to the Buckner move, and that didn't work out, and Armstead and, all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden they had to sign Hargrave or Kinlaw, I should say. So when Buckner, Kinlaw, and the money they were going to give to Buckner in the first place, they didn't want to give him $20 million plus. They wanted to be smart with the cap and bring in Kinlaw. Kinlaw didn't work out, so they got desperate and they had to sign Hargrave, which I remember being on the air when they signed him. And I was like, what the what? Because the 49ers aren't normally a day one free agency team, right? But they were that day. So anyway, good stuff today, man. Thank you so much as always. Yeah, Manaea, like you said. Oh, Jock, that was the one. Thank you, Tacky. So Manaea, Jock goes from Arizona to Texas. He got a good deal, too. Jock's made a few bucks in his career. So Manaea, Jock, Buehler. Those are the 3. You guys always come through for me. You guys are the best, man. Thank you so much, Tacky, on that one. Thank you. Yeah, $3.75, I think, was Manaea. 1-year deal for Jock in Texas. 1-year deal for Buehler in Boston. I thought Buehler would be a nice one. Like, get Corbin Burns and Buehler. He's 30 years old. I know he's got, he's had major arm injuries and those kind of things. Red Sox are paying him $20 million. So they got 𝐿 and they got Buehler. Buehler's a guy that he's not going to be a 1 or a 2 or anything like that, but he could be, your 4 starter. See what he could give you. I wouldn't have minded that deal, but not for $20 million. I think that's a little too much. So there you go. All right. Happy Monday. I hope you have an amazing Monday. We had a great time today. I know that the 49ers lost. I know the Warriors have weird stuff going on in their mojo. I know the Giants didn't sign someone over the weekend. Oh, one other thing I wanted to acknowledge. Man, I was so excited on Friday for the college football playoff. Oh, I was like, oh my God. And I told you guys this on Saturday. I will admit when I am wrong. That was garbage. Like all weekend long. In fact, I thought the only good game I thought was going to be for sure Ohio State and Tennessee. What did that end up? 42-17. That was terrible. SMU started everything against Penn State. That was terrible. I mean, it was just one blowout after another. Indiana Notre Dame on Friday night was terrible. Indiana made it look better than it was, but I mean, that thing was a complete blowout, non-competitive game. Every college football playoff game so far has been non-competitive. And I think Penn State's going to blow out Boise State. Texas is like a 13.5-point favorite over Arizona State. Ohio State and Oregon, that rematch is going to be really, really good. Georgia, Notre Dame should be decent. I think Georgia's going to win. The lack of athleticism a lot of times for Notre Dame shows its ugly head in these bowl games. So we'll see. But so far, not good. This has not been good. And I was so excited for it, so I will acknowledge the fact that it sucked. That it absolutely sucked. Oh, by the way, you can always ask questions that are non-sports related like Tacky did. Did John survive Christmas shopping on the Friday before Christmas? I did very well on Friday, but here's the thing, and I'm loath to do this. On Saturday, I did Friday, got a bunch of stuff. In fact, if I could turn my camera, which I can't because it'll screw it all up, I have this. I'll take a picture of it and post it. I have a couch right here in my studio, and it's just got tons of presents, and I hate. I can't tell you, and I don't even like to use the word hate. So this tells you how much I hate wrapping presents. I am so bad at it. You think you're bad? I might be. If we had a contest, and I would try. I should post this too. I could try to wrap a present, and I just run out of patience. I am the worst wrapper of presents you've ever seen. So I have a lot of bags in here, so I do bags, which, really sucks. Like if my parents had done bags, like here's a bag, and then you open it up, and there's your stuff. Part of the fun of Christmas, I didn't get in a fight with my wife, but we just kind of had because she's like, I got lots of bags, and what she's telling me is, please don't wrap your presents. They're terrible. They look like a 5-year-old did it. I'm not even kidding. It is awful. It's not that hard to wrap a gift, but I am the worst wrapper of gifts in the world. And so my wife always, she dragged a bunch of bags in here because she's like, just put them in bags. And I'm like, it kind of rips the kids off though, because isn't part of the fun ripping it? You rip everything and papers everywhere and you get in there and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the fun. Like if you open up a bag, it's okay, but it's pretty lazy. It's pretty lame. But my wrapping is so bad that some of the stuff I'm just going to have to put into a bag because it's embarrassing. Looks like the dog wrapped it. Oh, our dog's name is Bentley. Looks like Bentley wrapped this one. I mean, there's tape everywhere. There's uneven edges. You can see in it. And I really actually try. I think if we had a contest of people, you just had to tell them, look, you have to try to wrap this present the best way you possibly can. I might be the worst in the world. I might be the worst wrapper of presents in the world. The worst rapper too, but the worst wrapper of presents in the world. Honestly. Weird way to say what's the Fook wrapping. I agree with you, HR. I hate it, man. I am terrible at it. Like I've been just sitting here. Today's the 23rd, and things have been sitting here. So our Christmas tree, like everybody, has just all these tons of presents, and I haven't even started. And I'm not even kidding you. I probably have 15 gifts in here that I have because it's the worst thing in the world, and I don't want to do it until it's the last minute. Oh, here, can I ask you one more question? I'm sorry, man. This is terrible. It sounds like I'm rambling. We have to bring a hot appetizer on Christmas Eve. My wife's family always does this great Christmas Eve. Hot appetizer. Give me what you got. Because she's like artichoke dip or something like that. And I'm like, I'm not an artichoke dip guy. I mean, I think we made it one time and it wasn't that great. But like, and I don't want anything like funky or anything like that. But what would be like a hot appetizer? You can hit me up at John Lund Radio. You can hit me up the chat later. What would be like a nice, classy appetizer that you could make at home without too much hassle and trouble. Like I don't want to get into like a 6 and 8 hour. I don't want to be peeling stuff. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Just something that would be nice, quick. People think I maybe put some time into it. It would look really nice. Something like that, like an appetizer. Stuffed mushrooms, early bird. That's a good call, man. Buffalo chicken dip. I love you people. I really do. I'm not kidding you. Because, you know how you always have meatballs from Costco? That's not a bad call, man. You put it in like a, what are those things, the slow cooker, and you put all the stuff in there. Some people do like Coke in there, not cocaine, Coca-Cola and grape jelly and whatever that recipe is for that, and some barbecue sauce. Nachos. I do love nachos, bro. What else do we got? Buffalo chicken dip. That's not bad. That is not bad. Is that classy? I don't know. Scrambled eggs and bacon. Oh, poppers. Senior softball game coming through with some poppers. That wouldn't be bad. That's a really good idea. That's a little bit of work, but what do you put, like cream cheese? Like in a popper or something like that? I do like the meatball idea. I do like the stuffed mushrooms. What do you stuff them with? Like sausage? You do like a sausage mix kind of a thing there? That's not bad. What else do we got? I'm waiting for my meatball payment. Hold out your hands. Oh, there you go. I like it. Did a little Adam Sandler there. I like that. What else do we got? My meatball payment. Yeah, for the what? The piano lessons or whatever that was. Oh, very nice. You're the best. Thank you very much. Winning when you're supposed to lose. The Raiders. I know do we have some bitter Raider fans in here from the weekend? I bet. Man, you guys got to be crazy. All right, that'll do us. Pancakes. Oh, I'd love to do pancakes. I got one of those big grills out there. I've told you about that last week. I love that kind of stuff. I would do pancakes. In fact, I'm going to probably have to do pancakes right now. We got all the kids in the house. Oh, my God. Our house is a zoo right now. They're all off of school. I don't even want to go in there. All right. Good time had by all today. We really appreciate you hanging out. Make sure that you subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. Tell all your friends and enemies, please, to subscribe to the channel. We will be back later on today. I think there's a lot of stuff that we need to acknowledge. 3 minutes on, I do quick hitters on breaking news. We'll do chats this week, too. Not sure tonight. I don't know that we're going to do a chat, but let's whatever works for you guys, man. If there's a certain night that you want to chat, let's do that. Tomorrow night I cannot because it's Christmas Eve. 25th, I cannot. Day after Christmas, maybe. I don't know. Everybody's off. Is everybody off now? Pretty much, right? Barbecue meatballs is a good idea. Shrimp. Ooh, a little bit of shrimp in that mushroom. That is not a bad idea. Yeah, HR, you're right. The Raiders are going to have to trade up now. That sucks. What else do we got? Food. The NFL is about food. All right, that was a great time. Sausage, cream cheese, Italian seasoning, plastic bag. Look, I love that you're giving me the recipe there. Early birds, man. All right, great Monday. I've said it about 18 times. Great Monday. Subscribe, thumbs up, tell your friends. Podcast, I'm going to hit a button, so if you want to listen in the car, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, thank you so much. Just remember to brush your mushroom caps with white wine. That's what I always say. Very nice. You guys are the best, man. Happy Monday. I hope you have an amazing day. If you missed any of the show, you can go back and watch it at John Lund Radio. If you got any more thoughts or recipes on Twitter/X. Have a wonderful Monday. Thanks for tuning in to John Lund Unleashed on a Monday.